In the middle of a pounding midnight storm, Malik, a 16-year-old delivery kid, suddenly heard a faint cry for help coming from a luxury car crushed by the side of the road. Even as fear tried to anchor his feet, he still sprinted toward it, still used his scraped, stinging hands to wrench at the jammed steel door and pull the stranger inside to safety. What he didn't know was that the true identity of the man he'd just dragged back from death would soon upend his entire life forever. Before we dive in, where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me, and don't forget to hype and subscribe for more heartwarming stories every day. The rain hit like bullets against Malik Johnson's face. He pedaled harder, legs burning, his worn-out bike squeaking with every rotation. Water poured down the cracked asphalt streets of East Side, turning potholes into small lakes that splashed dirty water up his jeans. The Chinese takeout bag hanging from his handlebars swung wildly, threatening to spill at any moment. 16 years old, soaked to the bone. 3 more deliveries to go. Come on, Malik muttered through gritted teeth, wiping rain from his eyes with the back of his hand. The app on his cracked phone screen showed him making $5.40 for this delivery. After the app took their cut, he'd pocket maybe $3.50 closer to helping mom with groceries, $3.50 closer to keeping the lights on. Thunder rolled overhead, deep and threatening. Malik flinched but kept pedaling. He'd been doing this for 8 months now, ever since he turned 16 and could legally work. 3 delivery apps running simultaneously, juggling orders between them, racing across the city on a bike he'd rebuilt from scrap parts 5 times already. The neighborhood looked like a ghost town. Smart people were inside, away from the storm. But Malik didn't have that luxury. Neither did the dozens of other delivery drivers out here, risking everything for scraps. He passed Mrs. Chen's apartment building. Her door was cracked open just enough for him to see her peeking out, then it slammed shut the second she saw him. Not because of the storm, because it was him. Last week he'd helped her carry groceries to her car at the supermarket. She'd smiled, said thank you in broken English, seemed genuinely grateful. Then security followed him through every single aisle for the next 20 minutes. They didn't say anything. They didn't have to. Their presence said it all. We're watching you. We know what you are. We're waiting for you to steal something. He'd left without buying the milk his little brother David needed. The humiliation of being followed like a criminal was worse than going home empty-handed. At least at home, the shame was private. Malik pulled up to a house with a broken awning, water cascading off it like a waterfall. He rang the doorbell, holding the takeout bag up to protect it from the rain. His phone buzzed, another order coming in from across town. Good, more money. More reasons to keep drowning out here. The door opened just a crack. A hand reached through, grabbed the bag, and shoved cash at him. No face, no thank you. No stay safe out there in this crazy weather, just a transaction. Just money exchanging hands through a gap barely wide enough to see through. Then the door slammed. Malik counted the cash quickly. Exact change. Not even a $1 tip for biking through a storm that was quickly becoming dangerous. He pocketed it and looked up at the sky. Lightning flickered in the distance, illuminating the dark clouds rolling in fast. His mom's shift at the hospital ended at midnight. If he finished these last deliveries early, he could beat her home, maybe clean up the apartment a little, maybe make her smile for once instead of seeing that exhausted, worried look she always wore. He checked his phone for the fastest route. The highway shortcut through the woods would save him 10 minutes. It was darker, more isolated, but faster, and time was money. Malik pushed off from the curb and headed toward the woods, rain hammering down harder now, thunder getting closer. He had no idea his entire life was about to change. That in 10 minutes, everything he thought he knew about the world, about people, about hope, about doors that never opened for kids like him, would shatter and rebuild itself into something completely different. He was just trying to survive the storm. He didn't know he was riding straight into it. The sound reached Malik before he saw anything. A horrible screech of metal being torn apart, followed by a crash so loud it cut through even the thunder. His hand squeezed the brake levers hard. The bike skidded sideways on the wet pavement, nearly throwing him off. His heart slammed against his ribs as he steadied himself, squinting through the rain toward the source of the sound. 50 feet ahead, barely visible through the sheets of water falling from the sky, a car had wrapped itself around a utility pole. But this wasn't just any car. Even in the darkness and rain, even with his limited knowledge of vehicles, Malik could tell this was expensive. The kind of car he only saw in movies or driving through downtown where he never went because security always watched him extra close there. Sleek lines, dark paint, now crumpled and twisted. One headlight still shining weakly, pointing up at the trees instead of the road. Smoke, or was it steam, rose from the crumpled hood, mixing with the rain. Malik's feet touched the ground, straddling his bike, frozen. Every instinct in his body screamed at him. Danger, this is danger. This is how you end up in handcuffs trying to explain why you're standing next to a wrecked luxury car in the middle of a storm. But then he heard it. A voice, weak, desperate, barely audible over the pounding rain. Help, somebody help me. Malik's stomach twisted. He looked around frantically. Surely someone else would stop. Someone with a car, someone with a phone that worked properly, someone who looked like they belonged at the scene of an accident involving a car that probably cost more than his entire apartment building. But the road was empty, just him, the storm, and that voice calling out. Please, I can't get out. Malik dropped his bike and ran. His sneakers splashed through puddles, his delivery bag forgotten on the handlebars. Rain pelted his face so hard it hurt, but he didn't slow down. He reached the car, and his breath caught. The driver's side was completely crushed. The door frame had bent inward at an unnatural angle, twisted metal pressing against the driver, an older white man, maybe 65 or 70. His face was pale, slick with sweat and rain. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. His leg was pinned under the dashboard, trapped by collapsed metal that had crumpled during impact. Oh God, the man gasped when he saw Malik through the broken window. His eyes were wide with pain and fear. Oh thank God, I thought, I can't move my leg. I can't get out. Malik grabbed the door handle and pulled with everything he had. The metal groaned but didn't budge. The frame was too warped, bent too severely. He pulled again, his hand slipping on the wet metal. Come on. He braced his foot against the car body and heaved. Nothing. Headlights appeared behind them. A truck slowed down, and Malik's heart leaped. Help, finally. But the window rolled down only halfway. A bearded man leaned out, took one look at the scene and shook his head. Hey kid, don't touch that car, the driver shouted. The engine's smoking. That engine's smoking. It could catch fire any second. There's someone trapped inside. Malik yelled back. Not my problem. Get away from there before you get yourself killed. The truck sped up, tires kicking up a spray of water, and disappeared around the bend. Malik stood there, rain pouring down, staring after the truck. Not my problem. Those 3 words echoed in his head, mixing with memories he tried hard to forget. He'd felt this before too many times. Like the day he picked up a woman's wallet after her purse strap snapped. He jogged after her holding it out, breathless from trying to help. She'd turned, taken one look at him and screamed, not startled, terrified, like he was lunging at her. Within minutes, 2 squad cars rolled up. Officers made him sit on the curb while she counted her money 3 separate times, hands shaking like he might snatch it any second. Neighbors stared, kids whispered. Malik just sat there. He missed his mom's birthday dinner that night, still on that curb while they ran his name, double-checked the cameras, treated him like he'd done something wrong for trying to do something right. And then there was the convenience store. He'd paid, with a receipt in his pocket. But the clerk insisted he saw Malik slip something into his jacket. Security replayed the footage. Nothing. No apology either. Just a permanent ban and the same look he knew too well, that cold, silent accusation baked into their eyes. This was worse. This was so much worse. If something happened here, if the car exploded and he was standing next to it, if cops showed up and saw a black kid next to a wrecked luxury vehicle with an injured white man inside, every scenario ended with him in handcuffs, or worse. The smart move was to walk away, call 911 from a distance, let professionals handle it, protect himself. But then the man's hand reached through the broken window, shaking, desperate. Please don't leave me, he whispered, his voice cracking. Please, I don't want to die alone. And Malik saw it, not the expensive watch on the man's wrist or the designer fabric of his rain-soaked shirt. He saw the fear, the same fear Malik had seen in his mom's eyes when David had an asthma attack and they couldn't afford the ambulance. the same fear he'd seen in his own reflection when he thought about their eviction notice. This wasn't a rich man or a poor kid anymore. This was just two people in the rain, and one of them needed help. Malik made his decision. "What's your name?" he asked, moving closer to the window. "Henry," the man breathed. "Henry, please, I have a bad heart. I need my medication." It was in the... A small pop came from under the hood. Sparks flew. "We gotta get you out now." Malik grabbed the window frame, ignoring the broken glass cutting into his palms, and pulled himself up to see better. The man's leg was wedged tight under collapsed dashboard components. "Okay, listen to me, Henry. I'm gonna get you out, but you have to trust me. Can you do that?" Henry's eyes met his. In that moment, something passed between them. Something Malik had never experienced before with someone who looked like Henry. Not suspicion, not fear, not judgment, trust. "Yes," Henry said. "I trust you." Malik planted both feet firmly on the ground, gripped the door frame with both hands despite the pain shooting through his cut palms, and pulled with every ounce of strength his body possessed. The metal groaned like a wounded animal. His muscles screamed, blood from his palms mixed with rain, making everything slippery, but he didn't let go. He thought about all those deliveries, all those hours pedaling, all that strength built from survival. He channeled it all into this moment. "Come on," he roared. The door gave way with a horrible screech, metal tearing, and suddenly swung open so fast Malik nearly fell backward. It hung by one twisted hinge, barely attached, but it was open. It was open. "Okay, your leg." Malik crawled halfway into the car, broken glass crunching under his knees, cutting through his jeans. He didn't care. The cabin smelled like smoke and something burning. They were running out of time. Henry's leg was pinned under a section of the dashboard that had collapsed during impact. Malik could see where the metal pressed into his shin, could see Henry biting his lip to keep from screaming. "This is gonna hurt," Malik said, gripping the twisted metal. "I'm sorry, but just do it." Henry gasped. "Please just..." Malik lifted. His hands were on fire with pain. The metal edges dug into his already cut palms, going deeper, but he gritted his teeth and lifted harder. The dashboard shifted, inch by inch. Henry screamed, a raw sound of agony that made Malik want to stop, want to find another way, but there was no other way. Almost, Malik's vision was going dark at the edges from the effort. "Come on, Henry, pull your leg." Henry pulled. His face went white, his whole body convulsed with pain, but his leg came free, sliding out from under the collapsed metal. "Got it, I got you." Malik grabbed Henry under the arms and pulled him backward out of the car. They tumbled together onto the wet pavement, Henry crying out as his injured leg hit the ground. From under the hood, sparks exploded into actual flames. "Move, we gotta move." Malik half carried, half dragged Henry away from the car. 10 feet, 15. Henry's arm was around Malik's shoulders, his weight nearly pulling them both down, but Malik kept going. 20 feet, 25. The explosion wasn't huge, not like in the movies where cars flip through the air in massive fireballs, but it was real. A loud whump as flames burst from the engine compartment, consuming the interior in seconds. Heat washed over them like opening an oven door, and Malik threw himself forward, covering Henry's body with his own. Glass shattered, metal popped and twisted. The smell of burning rubber and plastic filled the air. When Malik looked up, the car was completely engulfed. Flames licked out of every window, smoke billowing thick and black into the rain-filled sky. "Oh my God," Henry breathed beneath him. "We were just in there. We were just..." His voice cut off. His hand went to his chest, clutching at his shirt. His breathing became rapid and shallow. Hey, stay with me." Malik rolled off him, kneeling beside him in the rain. "Henry, your heart medication was in the car." Henry nodded weakly, his face going from pale to gray. "In the glove box. Need to call. Need to..." Okay, just breathe." Slow breaths. Malik put his hand over Henry's chest, feeling it jump and flutter irregularly under his palm. His own hands were shaking, bleeding, useless. "I got you. I'm right here. I'm not leaving." Henry's hand shot up and gripped Malik's wrist with surprising strength. His eyes locked onto Malik's, and in them was pure, undiluted fear. "Don't leave me," he whispered. "Please don't leave me alone." In that moment, rain pouring down on them, fire crackling and spitting behind them, thunder rolling overhead. Malik understood something profound. He'd spent his whole life in front of doors that wouldn't open, doors that slammed in his face, doors that locked when he approached, but he'd just opened a door. He'd forced it open with his bare hands. "I'm not going anywhere," Malik said firmly. "I'm staying right here." Behind them, the burning car illuminated their faces in flickering orange light. The door Malik had torn open was now nothing but melted metal and ash, but it didn't matter. He'd already saved what needed saving. The rain somehow got heavier. Malik looked around desperately, water streaming into his eyes. They were still too close to the burning car. The heat was intense even from 25 feet away, and Henry was getting worse by the second. His breathing had become shallow and ragged, his lips taking on a bluish tint that made Malik's stomach twist with fear. Okay, think. Malik muttered to himself. His delivery training kicked in. He knew this area from riding through it dozens of times. There had to be something close, some kind of shelter. Then he spotted it. Maybe 100 yards into the trees, barely visible through the rain and darkness, an old storage shed. The kind highway maintenance workers used to store equipment. It looked abandoned, the door hanging slightly crooked, but it was shelter. "Henry, listen to me." Malik leaned close so the older man could hear him over the storm. "There's a shed over there. Can you walk? Can you make it that far?" Henry's eyes struggled to focus. "I'll try. I have to." Okay, good." Malik positioned himself next to Henry, helping him sit up first. Henry groaned, his injured leg clearly causing him significant pain. "On three, we're gonna stand. 1, 2, 3. They stood together, Henry leaning heavily on Malik, his arm draped over the teenager's shoulders. Malik took almost all of his weight, his legs shaking from the effort. Henry was taller than him, heavier, and every step was a battle. "That's it, just like that, one step at a time." Malik encouraged him, even though his own body was screaming in protest. His hands were bleeding steadily now, leaving a trail of diluted red in the rain. His knees were cut up from the glass. His muscles felt like they were tearing, but he kept going. 5 minutes to cover 100 yards, 5 minutes that felt like an hour. Henry stumbled twice, nearly taking them both down. The second time, he did. They fell together into the mud, and Malik had to use every ounce of remaining strength to get them both back up. "I'm sorry," Henry gasped. "I'm so sorry. I can't." "Yes you can. We're almost there. See, right there." Malik pointed at the shed, now only 20 feet away. "Come on Henry, don't quit on me now." They reached the door. Malik said a silent prayer as he tested the handle. It opened. Thank God for small miracles. The interior smelled like rust, old gasoline and mildew, but it was dry, mostly dry. The roof had a few leaks but nothing compared to being outside. Malik helped Henry inside, and eased him down against the back wall, away from the leaks. Henry's head rolled back against the wall. His chest heaved with labored breaths. In the dim light, filtering through the cracks in the walls, he looked 10 years older than he had in the car. "Your phone," Malik said, pulling out his own. The screen was completely black. Water damage had finally killed it. He wanted to throw it against the wall. "Do you have your phone?" Henry patted his pockets weakly with trembling hands. "It was in the car, in the center console, I think." "Perfect, just perfect." Malik ran his hands through his soaking wet hair, leaving streaks of blood. His mind raced. They were in the middle of nowhere. The highway was visible but too far away for anyone to see them in this storm. The burning car might draw attention eventually, but how long would that take? Henry's teeth started chattering. Hard. His whole body shook with cold, and Malik realized hypothermia was a real danger. They were both soaked through, the temperature was dropping, and Henry was already in shock. Malik looked down at his hoodie, his only real layer of warmth, then at Henry in his thin button-down shirt that was plastered to his skin. He didn't even hesitate. Malik pulled off his hoodie, water cascading from the fabric. His t-shirt underneath was just as wet, and the cold air hit him like a slap, but he ignored it. He draped the hoodie over Henry's shoulders, tucking it around him as best he could. "Keep that on," Malik said. "You need it more than me." Henry's hand came up slowly, touching the wet fabric. His eyes, glassy with pain and shock, focused on Malik's face. You don't have to." "Yeah I do." Malik sat down across from him, hugging his knees to his chest to conserve warmth. Look, I didn't just pull you out of a burning car to let you freeze to death in a shed. That would be really stupid, like the dumbest thing ever. A sound escaped Henry, something between a sob and a laugh. It was such an unexpected sound that Malik almost smiled. What's funny? He asked. Nothing. Everything. Henry pulled the hoodie tighter around himself. I can't believe you're real, that you're actually here doing this. Where else would I be? Most people would have driven past, like that truck. Malik shrugged, trying to ignore how cold he was getting. Yeah, well, I'm not most people, I guess. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the rain hammer against the metal roof. Each drop sounded like a tiny drum, creating a steady rhythm that was almost hypnotic. The burning car was still visible through the open door, flames dying down as the rain slowly won its battle. What's your name? Henry asked again, as if he'd forgotten. I want to remember your name. Malik. Malik Johnson. Malik. Henry repeated it carefully, like he was committing it to memory, like it mattered. That's a strong name, a good name. It's just a name. No. Henry's voice was stronger now, more focused. Names matter. They define us. They're how we're remembered, and I want to remember yours, Malik. I want to remember that Malik Johnson saved my life tonight. Malik didn't know what to say to that. People didn't talk to him like this, like he mattered, like his existence made a difference. Thank you, Henry continued. I know that couldn't have been an easy choice. I saw you hesitate. I don't blame you. You had every reason to walk away. Malik looked at his bleeding hands. You saw that. I saw fear in your eyes. But you came anyway. That's the definition of courage, being afraid and doing it anyway. I don't feel very courageous. I feel like I'm about to pass out, then we'll keep each other awake. Henry shifted slightly, wincing as his leg moved. Tell me about yourself, your family, your life. I want to know about the young man who saved me. Why? Because, Henry said simply, you matter, and I want to understand why someone like you would risk everything for someone like me. Malik looked at him for a long moment, then because they were trapped in a shed in the middle of a storm with nowhere else to go, and nothing else to do, he started talking. There's not much to tell, Malik started, but Henry shook his head. Everyone has a story. Tell me yours. So Malik did. He told Henry about his mom, Angela Johnson, who worked as a nurse's aide at the county hospital, how she pulled double shifts 3, sometimes 4 times a week. How she came home with her feet swollen, barely able to stand, but still made dinner for him and David. How she never complained, never showed weakness, but Malik could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She does 3 jobs, Malik explained, staring at the wall instead of meeting Henry's gaze. It was easier that way. Hospital during the day, cleaning offices at night, and she picks up weekend shifts at a restaurant when they need someone. And it's still not enough. It's never enough. Where's your father? Henry asked gently. Gone. Left when I was 8, and David was 4. Said he couldn't handle the pressure. Needed to find himself or some shit. Sorry, some stuff. We haven't heard from him since. Malik's jaw tightened. Mom never talks about him. I think it hurts too much. The rain continued its steady percussion on the roof. Malik pulled his knees tighter to his chest, trying to conserve warmth. That's why you do deliveries, Henry said. It wasn't a question. 3 apps, food delivery, grocery delivery, and package delivery. I work after school until midnight most nights. Weekends I do 12, sometimes 14-hour shifts. Malik laughed without humor. My guidance counselor called me in last month, said my grades were slipping, asked if everything was okay at home. I wanted to tell her everything's not okay, nothing's okay, but what's she gonna do about it? Give me a motivational speech about reaching my potential. That doesn't pay rent. How old are you again? 60. Turned 16 8 months ago. Got my work permits the same week. Henry was quiet for a moment. That's a lot of responsibility for someone so young. It's just life. Malik shrugged. David's 12. He has asthma. The medication costs like $80 a month, even with mom's insurance. And our apartment, it's not much, but it's ours, you know. Or it was until. He stopped. Until what? Henry's voice was gentle but insistent. Malik hesitated, then the words came out in a rush. We got a court summons. Eviction hearing in 30 days. We're 2 months behind on rent. A court summons. Henry's expression darkened.
Yeah, landlord filed with the housing court. Mom tried to work something out with him, but he said he's done being patient. Found someone willing to pay more, wants us out so he can renovate. Malik's voice went flat. She called every shelter in the area. They're all full, waiting lists months long. Henry started to speak, but Malik kept going. The dam had broken. I had it almost saved up, almost had enough for 1 month's rent to buy us time. Then someone stole my bike 2 days ago, just took it, cut right through the lock. His hands clenched into fists. That bike was everything. Without it I can't do deliveries. The apps need you to maintain acceptance rates, completion rates. I've been trying to do orders on foot, but I'm too slow. They'll deactivate me soon, and without that income. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I'm so sorry, Henry said, and something in his voice made Malik look up. There were tears in the older man's eyes. You shouldn't have to carry that burden. No child should. I'm not a child, Malik said defensively. I haven't been a child in a long time. That's exactly my point. They were quiet again. Malik could hear Henry's breathing, still labored but more steady than before. That was good. That meant he was stabilizing, at least for now. Can I tell you something? Malik asked suddenly, something I've never told anyone. Of course. Last month I was at the grocery store, just walking around, trying to figure out what we could afford. I had $20. That's it. $20 to buy milk, bread, maybe some eggs if they were on sale. Malik's hands clenched into fists. This security guard started following me, not even subtle about it, just following me up and down every aisle, pretending to check shelves but always watching me. Malik, I hadn't done anything, hadn't even picked anything up yet, but he was there, watching, waiting for me to steal something, like it was inevitable, like that's just what kids who look like me do. Malik's voice rose slightly. You know what the worst part was? I started feeling guilty, like maybe I was planning to steal something and just didn't know it yet, like his suspicion somehow made me suspicious. That's called internalized racism, Henry said quietly, and it's poison. After 20 minutes of being followed, I just left, didn't buy anything, walked out with my $20 still in my pocket, went to a different store across town, paid almost double for the same stuff, because at least there I wasn't treated like a criminal. Malik pulled something from his pocket, soggy bills held together with a rubber band, his delivery earnings, everything he'd made tonight. Here, he held the money out to Henry. I know it's not much, your car is totaled, and I know I can't replace it, but maybe this helps with, I don't know, cab fare home or something. Henry stared at the money like it was a snake. Malik, no, absolutely not. Please just take it. You need it more than me right now. Malik, Henry's voice was firm despite his weakness. That car you saw, it costs more than you'll make in an entire year, probably 5 years. This, he gestured at the crumpled wet bills. This is your food, your brother's medicine, your family's survival. I can't take that from you. But you don't even have a phone. How are you getting home? How? Malik, stop. Henry's eyes filled with tears again. Do you have any idea what you're doing right now? You have every reason to resent someone like me, every reason to let me suffer, and yet here you are, in a freezing shed, bleeding from a dozen cuts, giving me your jacket, and trying to give me the money you can't afford to lose. His voice broke. Do you know how rare that is? How precious, how incredibly rare actual kindness is in this world? Malik didn't answer. He couldn't. Something hot was building in his chest, making it hard to breathe. You want to know why I was driving in that storm tonight? Henry asked. Why I was out there alone on these back roads? You said you were visiting someone. My wife's grave, Sarah. Henry's hand went to his shirt pocket, pulled out a small keychain, worn brown leather with a tiny silver heart attached. Today was the 5 years anniversary of her death. Heart attack. She was 62 years old, healthy as far as we knew. And then one day, he snapped his fingers. Gone. 3 hours from first symptom to death. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I was in a board meeting. Henry, I'm sorry. I go every year, always alone. My children don't speak to me anymore. Haven't in years. They grew up without me because I was too busy building an empire to build relationships. Sarah used to beg me to spend more time with them, to miss just one meeting, one conference, one business trip, but I always said next time. Always next time. Until there was no next time. Henry stared at the keychain in his palm. This was hers. She kept it on her purse. It still smells like her perfume. If you get it close enough, it's all I have left that feels like her.
He paused, and when he spoke again his voice was barely above a whisper. I told my driver I wanted to go alone today. Insisted, slipped away while Marcus was in a meeting. I needed to be alone with her. To tell her I was sorry. His voice cracked. And to tell her I was tired. So tired of being alone. Of having all this success and no one to share it with. Malik's chest tightened. He understood what Henry wasn't saying. Henry held the keychain out to Malik. What are you doing? Malik asked. I want you to hold on to this for me. Just for tonight. Henry pressed it into Malik's hand, closing his fingers around it. It keeps me grounded. Reminds me of what actually matters in life. And right now, if I start drifting, if I start losing consciousness, I need you to hold this and keep talking to me. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me about who you want to be. Keep me here. Can you do that? Malik looked down at the keychain in his palm. It was warm from Henry's pocket, worn smooth from years of Sarah's hands holding it. The weight of it felt significant, like Henry was trusting him with something infinitely precious. Yeah, Malik said. Yeah, I can do that. Good. So tell me, if the world was fair, if money wasn't an issue, what would Malik Johnson want to do with his life? Malik almost said he didn't know, almost gave the safe answer. But something about this moment, sitting in this shed with a stranger who'd somehow become something more, both of them bleeding and cold and alive against all odds, made him want to be honest. I like fixing things, he said slowly. Taking stuff apart, seeing how it works, understanding the engineering behind it. My bike, I've rebuilt that thing like 5 times now. Started with a frame I found in a dumpster, added parts from everywhere. Designed my own gear system because the original one was trash. That's impressive. And in our apartment we're on the 3rd floor, right? My mom has bad knees from being on her feet all day, so I designed this whole pulley system for her. She loads the laundry basket at the bottom, I pull it up using a rope and pulley system I installed. Saves her from having to carry heavy stuff up the stairs. Henry was smiling now. You're an engineer. No, you're an engineer, Malik. You might not have the degree, but you have the mind. You see problems and you solve them. That's what engineers do. Yeah, well, engineering school costs money I'll never have. And even if I could afford it, my grades aren't good enough for scholarships. Hard to keep a 4.0 when you're working 30 hours a week and falling asleep in class. What if you didn't have to work? Henry asked. What if you could just focus on school? That's not reality. But hypothetically, if you had the chance, would you want to study engineering? Malik thought about it, really thought about it. Let himself imagine a world where he could sit in class without worrying about rent, where he could stay after school for extra help instead of rushing to his first delivery shift, where his biggest stress was understanding calculus instead of choosing between groceries and electricity. Yeah, he admitted. I'd want that. I'd want to learn how to design things that help people. Real things, like better wheelchairs for people with disabilities, or affordable water filtration systems for communities that need them. Or I don't know, this sounds stupid. Nothing you say could sound stupid. I want to design better housing for low-income families. Places that are actually safe and dignified. Because I've lived in places where the heat doesn't work in winter, and there's mold in the walls, and the landlord doesn't care because he knows we have nowhere else to go. And I think I could design better. I could make something better. That's not stupid, Henry said firmly. That's beautiful. That's the kind of engineering the world desperately needs. Well, the world will have to keep desperately needing it, because it's not happening for me. What if it could? It can't. But what if sirens? Distant but getting closer. They both froze, listening. Red and blue lights flickered through the trees, bouncing off the rain. Multiple vehicles getting closer. They found us, Henry said. Malik's stomach dropped. Reality came crashing back. He wasn't in a shed having a heart-to-heart with a new friend. He was in a shed with a man whose car he'd been standing next to. A white man, a rich white man based on that car. And Malik was black, bleeding, and had no way to prove his story. This was about to go very, very wrong. The shed door burst open with a bang that made both of them jump. Flashlights swept across the interior, blinding Malik. He threw up his arm to shield his eyes, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might explode. Mr. Harrison, a man's voice filled with panic and relief. Oh my God, we found you. We've been searching for over an hour. People in uniforms flooded into the small space, EMTs, police, others Malik couldn't identify. Hands reached for Henry, checking his pulse, shining lights in his eyes, asking him questions rapid fire. Can you tell me your name, sir? Do you know what day it is? Where does it hurt? We need to get him to a hospital immediately. Possible cardiac event, leg trauma, signs of shock. Malik pressed himself back against the wall, trying to stay out of the way, trying to be invisible. His mind raced through possible scenarios. Would they accuse him of causing the accident, of trying to rob Henry? Would they even ask his side of the story? A police officer turned to him. What's your name? Were you in the vehicle? No. Did you witness the accident? Yes. I will need a full statement. Don't go anywhere. Then a man in an expensive suit pushed through the crowd. Late 40s, perfectly groomed despite the rain, carrying himself with authority. He went straight to Henry, his face pale with worry. Mr. Harrison, thank God. When the GPS went dead, we thought, his voice choked up. Sir, we need to get you to St. Vincent's immediately. I've already called ahead, they're preparing a cardiac unit. Marcus, I'm fine. You are not fine, sir. You've been missing for over an hour after a severe car accident. Marcus's voice was tight with controlled panic. The board is frantic. I've been coordinating search teams, but the storm knocked out the cellular network and the roads are flooding. My daughter? Henry interrupted. Did someone call Jennifer? Marcus hesitated. I called her, sir. She said she'd try to come to the hospital. The hope in Henry's face flickered and died. Malik saw it, and felt an unexpected stab of sadness for this man who seemed to have everything but the things that actually mattered. EMTs were loading Henry onto a stretcher now, moving efficiently. One of them finally noticed Malik's injuries. Hey, you're hurt too. Let me see those hands. I'm fine, Malik said automatically. You're bleeding pretty badly. We need to dress those wounds at minimum. The EMT began cleaning and bandaging Malik's hands while another checked him for other injuries. The police officer waited, notepad ready. As they worked, Marcus turned and seemed to really look at Malik for the first time. His eyes swept over the teenager, taking in the wet clothes, the cuts, the exhausted expression. Who are you? Marcus asked. Malik started. Henry interrupted firmly from the stretcher. Marcus, that young man saved my life. All eyes turned to Malik. He pulled me from the car before it exploded, gave me his jacket when I was going into shock, kept me conscious until you arrived. Henry's voice grew stronger with each word. Without him I'd be dead. Do you understand? Dead. Marcus's expression transformed. He walked toward Malik, and Malik couldn't help but flinch slightly. But Marcus extended his hand. Then we owe you an enormous debt. Marcus said, Sir, I'm Marcus Chen, Mr. Harrison's chief of security. We'll need your contact information for the police report and insurance purposes. And of course Mr. Harrison will want to thank you properly once he's recovered. The police officer stepped forward. I'll need your statement about what happened, what you saw, what you did. Malik nodded, his throat tight. Okay. As they wheeled Henry toward the waiting ambulance, the older man caught Malik's eye and mouthed two words. Thank you. Malik nodded, clutching Sarah's keychain in his bandaged hand. Then Henry was gone, loaded into the ambulance, sirens wailing as it disappeared into the storm. All right, the officer said, pulling out his notepad. Let's start from the beginning. What's your full name? Malik Johnson. Address. As Malik gave his information, as the officer took photos of his injuries for documentation, as the EMT finished bandaging his hands and knees, one thought kept circling in his mind. Henry had remembered his name, had called him by name in front of everyone, had made sure people knew what Malik had done. But would anyone else remember? Or would this be like every other time? Malik doing something that mattered, only to disappear back into invisibility once the crisis was over. Malik woke up the next morning to his phone buzzing on his nightstand. Confused, he picked it up. The screen was working. Someone at the scene must have given him a replacement, probably Marcus, which was both helpful and deeply embarrassing. Like charity, he checked his messages first. Nothing from Henry or Marcus, of course not. Why would there be? Henry was probably still in the hospital, and Marcus had bigger things to worry about than following up with the random kid who'd helped. Then he opened the news app. The headline hit him like a punch to the gut. Billionaire tech mogul Henry Harrison survives deadly crash in severe storm. Billionaire. The word seemed to pulse on the screen, getting bigger with each beat of his heart. Malik scrolled down, hands shaking. There was a photo of Henry being loaded into the ambulance, looking pale and weak. Another photo showed the burned-out wreck of his car, twisted metal and charred paint. A third photo was a professional headshot, Henry in a suit, standing in front of a massive glass building with Harrison Industries in chrome letters across the front. The article was brief, published just hours after the accident, clearly written in haste. Tech billionaire Henry Harrison was rescued last night after his vehicle crashed during severe weather conditions. Harrison, 68, CEO of Harrison Industries, was transported to St. Vincent's Hospital where he is reported to be in stable condition. The crash occurred on Route 47 during peak storm hours. GPS malfunction and flooding delayed rescue efforts. More details to follow as information becomes available. That was it. 100 words about Henry Harrison. Not one mention of how he was rescued. Not one word about who had pulled him from that burning car. Not one acknowledgement that anyone else had been involved in saving his life. Malik stared at the screen until it went blurry. Something hot and bitter rose in his chest. Not sadness, but anger. Pure, burning anger. He threw the phone across his room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. "Of course," he said to the empty room, his voice shaking. "Of course they didn't mention me." The story was probably filed before anyone even talked to him. Before anyone cared to ask how he survived. David poked his head in the door. "Mom says you gotta help with laundry. And why did you throw your phone?" "It's nothing, I'm coming." But it wasn't nothing. All day the anger built. Doing laundry, he thought about Henry's expensive car. Washing dishes, he thought about that word billionaire. More money than Malik's entire neighborhood would see in 100 lifetimes. Helping David with homework, he thought about how 1 month of Henry's interest could solve every problem his family had ever faced. By evening, when his mom came home exhausted from her double shift, something inside Malik had hardened into stone. "Baby, Mrs. Chen told me you saved someone's life in the storm," his mom said, sitting down heavily. "A man in a car accident. Is that true?" "Doesn't matter." "What do you mean it doesn't matter?" "Malik, that's incredible. He was a billionaire, Mom. A literal billionaire." Malik's hands clenched into fists. "And you know what happened? The news didn't even mention that someone saved him. Just erased me like I was invisible. Like I was nothing. Maybe they didn't have the full story yet. Sometimes these things, there's always an excuse. There's always a reason why people like us don't matter." His voice rose. "I risked my life for someone who makes more in a day than we'll see our entire lives, and I don't even get acknowledged." His mom reached for his hand. "Malik, you did the right thing. You saved a life. That matters regardless of does it." He pulled away. "Does it really matter when we're still about to get evicted? When David still can't breathe? When you're still killing yourself working 3 jobs? What did my right thing get us? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Malik Johnson, that is enough." His mom's voice went hard. "I did not raise you to expect payment for doing what's right. You helped someone, because that's who you are. Not because of what you'd get in return." "Well, maybe I should start thinking about what we get in return. Maybe if I'd been smarter, I would've what? Let him die." Her eyes filled with tears. "Is that who you want to be?" Malik didn't answer. He just grabbed his jacket and left, slamming the door behind him. That night, lying in bed after apologizing to his mom, because he knew he'd been wrong, knew he'd hurt her, Malik stared at Sarah's keychain on his nightstand. He picked it up, running his thumb over the worn leather. It still smelled faintly of perfume. "You said you'd remember me," he whispered bitterly. "But people like you never do." He threw it across the room. It hit the wall and disappeared behind his dresser. Good. He didn't want any reminder of that night. Didn't want to remember how stupid he'd been to think it meant something. 3 days later, everything fell apart. Malik's mom came home at 2 p.m. instead of 7. She didn't need to say a word. Malik knew the moment he saw her face. "They cut my hours, and the restaurant cut back last week, and this morning the cleaning company lost their contract." She sank into a chair, shoulders collapsing. "Mr. Kowalski came by. The eviction hearing is in 30 days. 30 days, the words didn't land, just hovered there. "Impossible. We'll figure it out," Malik said, because that was the only thing he ever knew how to say.
I'll pick up more shifts. I called the shelters, she whispered. They're full, Malik, every single one. David looked up from his homework. What does that mean? No one answered him. Malik grabbed his jacket. I'm going to work. He made it down the stairs, out to the sidewalk, then froze. His bike was gone. Only a severed chain lay in its place, clean cut, like someone had sliced straight through the little bit of stability he had left. His stomach dropped. That bike wasn't a thing. It was his job, his lifeline, his hours, his hope, gone. He pulled out his phone, opened his delivery apps. The first one, your account requires verification due to low acceptance rates. Complete 3 test deliveries within 48 hours. Impossible now. The second app had a similar warning. The third one didn't bother with a warning at all. Just your account has been suspended. He stood there in the hallway for a long moment, phone in hand, breath shaking. When he finally trudged back upstairs, a paper was taped crookedly to their apartment door. Court summons, official, final, eviction hearing confirmed. Inside, David was coughing again, deep, wet, rattling. Did you use your inhaler? Malik asked, already knowing the answer. It's empty, David wheezed. Mom said we can get more next week. Next week, when he needed it today. When they couldn't afford it today. That night, Malik lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to David struggle to breathe across the room, and his mother crying softly in the dark. Tomorrow I'll figure something out, he told himself, but he didn't believe it anymore. The following week, he tried walking deliveries. He was too slow. The apps docked his rating, then his priority, then his shifts, until finally they shut him out completely. And Malik could only watch as everything he'd been holding together came apart in his hands. He applied to 15 jobs, got 2 interviews. Both places took one look at him, and said they'd keep his application on file. Code for no. The eviction hearing date got closer. 14 days, 10 days, 7 days. His mom's exhaustion deepened. David's cough worsened. The math stopped working no matter how Malik calculated it. Then 5 days before the hearing, he got a phone call. The number was unknown. Malik almost didn't answer, probably a bill collector or another scam call. But something made him pick up. Hello, static crackled. Then Malik Johnson. His heart stopped. Henry's voice. This is Henry Harrison, from the storm. I've been trying to find you. How did you get this number? Malik's voice came out cold before he could stop it. Marcus tracked it down through the police report. Malik, I wanted to call sooner, but I was in the hospital for a week, and then I had to deal with my company, and then tracking down your contact information took longer than expected. Yeah, I saw you were in the hospital. It was all over the news. A pause. Henry's voice softened. You saw the first article, the one that didn't mention me. Malik's laugh was bitter. Yeah, I saw it. Malik, I'm so sorry. That story went out before anyone even spoke to me. I was in surgery when it posted. As soon as I could, I gave interviews. I told them exactly what you did. There have been 3 follow-ups. I wouldn't know. I stopped reading after the first one. There was another pause, heavier than the first. You have every right to be angry, Henry said quietly. The way that first article, you know what, save it. The anger Malik had held down for days finally cracked through. I don't need your explanations. I don't need your guilt. I don't need anything from you. Malik, please, explain what? Malik snapped. That you're a billionaire who couldn't even make sure the person who saved your life got mentioned. That you were too busy with your board meetings to follow up. That's not fair. Fair. Malik's voice rose raw and shaking. You want to talk about fair? He started pacing, one hand pressed against his forehead, like he was trying to keep everything from spilling out. After I saved your life, I couldn't work for 3 days because my hands were shredded. My apps suspended me. Somebody stole my bike, my only way to make money. My mom lost hours. We're 5 days away from an eviction hearing. My brother can't breathe because we can't afford his inhaler. And you, his voice cracked. You were getting written about like some kind of tragic hero. Malik, I didn't know, Henry said. I've been trying to find you. You're a billionaire. Malik shouted, with a full security staff. If you actually wanted to find me, you would have found me the next day. His breaths came fast, uneven. But you didn't, because people like you don't actually care about people like me. We're props in your survival story, Background characters you forget once you're safe. That's not true. Marcus has been looking for you non-stop. Your file was incomplete, and you wanna know what I learned? Malik cut in, quieter now, but somehow sharper. Doing the right thing doesn't matter. It doesn't pay rent. It doesn't buy medicine. It doesn't change anything. He swallowed hard. I should have just kept riding that night. You don't mean that, Henry whispered. Don't I? Malik said, voice breaking. We have 5 days before we're on the street, so yeah, Henry, I mean it. Malik, please, let me help. I can. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. You saved my life. Let me. I saved your life because it was the right thing to do. Malik said, suddenly quiet. Not because I expected anything from you. He took a shaky breath. And the worst part, you told me not to disappear. You remember that? In the shed. Silence. I'm not the one who disappeared, Henry. You did. I was in the hospital. Henry tried. I had surgery, cardiac monitoring. And after, Malik's voice wavered. After you were fine. After the interviews. After the press conferences, you could have told someone to find me. You could have made one call, but you didn't. He blinked hard, trying not to let his voice crack. Because once you were back in your world, your money, your company, your security, I stopped mattering. The line went dead quiet. When Henry finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. You're right. Malik froze. What? You're right, Henry repeated. I should have made finding you the priority. I should have told Marcus to drop everything. He inhaled shakily. I was overwhelmed. My daughter came to the hospital. We fought. The board pressured me about stepping down. My life closed in on me, and I let all of that distract me from the one person who showed me kindness when I had nothing left. Malik's anger faltered, but he held the line. That's a nice explanation, he said stiffly. Doesn't change anything. No, Henry admitted. It doesn't. But please let me help now. Your hearing, your brother's medication, your mother, and then what? Malik snapped. You write a check and feel better. Get to be the hero again. Get to brag about how you helped the poor black kid who saved your life. That's not. Yes it is. Malik exploded. You feel guilty so you wanna throw money at me to make yourself feel better. Well, I'm not interested. I'm not your redemption arc. I'm not your PR win. I'm not your damn tax write-off. Malik, don't call me again. He hung up. He hung up. He hung up. His hand was shaking so hard, he almost dropped the phone. His chest felt tight, like he couldn't breathe. Like David with his empty inhaler. What had he just done? He just told a billionaire, the only person who could actually help, to leave him alone. He'd let his pride and anger destroy maybe the only chance his family had. His mom appeared in the doorway. Was that him? The man you saved? Malik couldn't look at her. Yeah. And I told him to leave us alone. The silence was deafening. Malik, his mom's voice was soft. What did you do? What I had to do. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He hadn't done what he had to do. He'd done what his hurt and pride demanded. And it might have just cost his family everything. That night, Malik lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He could hear David wheezing in the bed next to him. Could hear his mom crying quietly in the other room. He'd been so angry, so hurt. And he'd lashed out at the one person who'd actually tried to help. Behind his dresser, hidden in the shadows, Sarah's keychain lay where he'd thrown it. Out of sight but not forgotten. Just like he'd told Henry to forget him. 4 days until the eviction hearing. And Malik had just slammed the only door that had ever opened for him. 3 days passed in agonizing slowness. Malik picked up a dishwashing shift at Lou's Diner, 12 hours a week, minimum wage, $70 after taxes. They needed $3,000 for any chance at the hearing. The math refused to move. No matter how he sliced it, it stayed impossible. His mom was working 16-hour days. David's cough was getting worse. The eviction hearing was tomorrow. That evening, Malik sat on the couch staring at nothing, trying to rehearse some miracle plan he didn't have. When headlights swept across their living room wall the next morning, he barely reacted, until he saw the car. Not just any car. That car. The glossy black one he'd seen at the crash site. Marcus stepped out first, then Henry, leaning heavily on a cane, but walking like someone who decided to stop running from anything ever again. They were here. Malik's heart slammed. A part of him wanted to disappear into his bedroom. Another part wanted to run outside and apologize until his throat gave out. And somewhere deep inside, something wounded whispered, "Why now?" His mom opened the door. "Mrs. Johnson," Marcus said, his tone warm but formal. "I'm Marcus Chen, Mr. Harrison's chief of security. This is Henry Harrison. We'd like to speak with Malik." "I know who you are," his mom said softly. "Malik told me what happened." "May we come in?" Henry asked. "We won't take much of your time."
As Henry eased himself onto the couch, Malik's mother quietly pressed something into his palm, a small worn leather keychain. "My son dropped this," she whispered. Malik froze in the doorway. His mom's eyes flicked to him, asking permission. He nodded. Henry and Marcus sat on the couch. Malik and his mom took the two chairs facing them. The apartment, already cramped, felt impossibly small. "Malik," Henry began, voice steady but heavy, "I owe you an apology. A real one. Not excuses, not defenses. Just an apology." Malik's jaw tightened. He didn't trust himself to speak. "You were right about what you said on the phone," Henry continued. "I should have found you sooner. I should have corrected the story immediately. I should have made sure you were all right before worrying about board meetings and damage control." His voice caught. "You saved my life and I failed you afterward. I'm sorry." Malik looked down at his bandaged hands. "Why are you here?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "To help," Henry said simply. "If you'll let me." "I told you I don't want charity." "I know," Henry said gently, "which is why I'm not offering charity." He reached into his bag, placed a folder on the coffee table and pushed it toward Malik without opening it. "This is the Harrison Technical Academy," Henry said. "I created it after losing my wife. Engineering, manufacturing, coding, design, full training, full equipment, full support. Students even get a living stipend." Malik didn't touch the folder. It felt radioactive. Henry continued, quieter now. "The doors to opportunities like this, they're closed to kids like you. Not because of talent, but because of money and access. I want you to apply." Malik flinched. "I already told you, this isn't charity." Henry cut in gently but firmly. "You'll still have to earn your spot. Interviews, assessments, problem-solving tests. Marcus told me about the pulley system you built for your mom. Present it. Show us your mind." Malik's head snapped up. "How do you even remember that?" "You told me in the shed." I listened. Something shifted in Malik's chest, small but undeniable. Henry leaned forward. "If you get in, it's because you earned it, not because of me. And once you're in, the expectations are the same. You work, you show up, you collaborate. We don't hand out pity diplomas." Malik looked to his mother. Tears were slipping down her face. "What about?" He gestured helplessly at the table covered in overdue notices. "Tomorrow, the hearing." Marcus and Henry shared a brief glance. "We can help," Marcus said carefully. "A loan, 0 interest. Pay it back after you graduate and start your career. Or don't pass it forward to someone else instead." Malik's throat tightened painfully. "Why?" he asked. "Why do this for us?" Henry didn't hesitate. "Because 3 weeks ago a 16-year-old ran toward a burning car when everyone else ran away," he said quietly. "Because you wrapped me in your hoodie when you were freezing. Because you tried to give me money you desperately needed. Because you kept me alive, not for a reward, not for recognition, but because it was right." His voice broke. "And because you reminded me that people are worth saving, not just people who look like me or live like me. People, period." Malik closed his eyes. His chest hurt. He wasn't ready to trust Henry, not fully, but something in Henry's voice was real, raw, human. "I'm not asking you to trust me," Henry said softly. "I haven't earned that yet." He placed a hand on the folder. "I'm asking you to trust yourself. Let me open this door. You walk through it. You do the work. You build your future. Tell me, does that sound like charity?" Malik swallowed hard. "No," he whispered. "It sounds terrifying." Henry smiled faintly. "Good, the best opportunities usually are." Malik turned to his mom. She nodded, tears streaming freely now. "Okay," Malik said, voice steadier than he felt. "I'll do it." The interview was 2 days later. Malik showed up at the Harrison Technical Academy with his pulley system disassembled in a box, his hands still shaking with nerves. Dr. Sarah Chen, the director, greeted him with a firm handshake. "Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming. I understand you'll be presenting a mechanical solution you designed. Yes, ma'am. Show me. He reassembled the pulley system on the table, explaining each component, each decision, each calculation. She asked questions, hard questions about load distribution, friction coefficients, safety margins. He answered, not perfectly, but honestly. When he didn't know something, he said so. Why did you choose this gear ratio? She asked. Because my mom's knees hurt. If the ratio was lower, she'd have to pull harder, higher, and the rope would move too fast and she might lose control. He demonstrated. This ratio gives her mechanical advantage without sacrificing control. Dr. Chen made notes. And if you had access to better materials, how would you improve this? Malik thought about it. I'd use a ratchet mechanism here to prevent backsliding. Replace the wooden dowel with a steel rod to reduce flex, add a brake here for safety, and I'd redesign the mount to distribute the load across 3 studs instead of 2. Why 3? Because 2 might fail, but 3 is statistically unlikely to all fail simultaneously. More notes. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to give you a design challenge. You have 20 minutes to sketch a solution. She presented the problem: design a bicycle that could be folded for easy storage, could carry a week's worth of groceries, and could be repaired with common hardware store parts. Target cost, under $150 in materials. Malik stared at the blank paper. Then he thought about his stolen bike, about his mom carrying groceries, about everyone in East Side who needed reliable transportation but couldn't afford it. He started sketching. 20 minutes later, he presented his concept, rough, unfinished, but functional. Dr. Chen studied it. This joint here, it would create a weak point. Yes, but if I add a support brace here and use a locking pin mechanism here, it would distribute the stress. The folding mechanism looks complicated. It has to be sturdy enough to handle weight but simple enough that anyone can fold it. I could simplify it by using a lever system here instead of separate hinges. She made a final note, then looked up at him. Mr. Johnson, welcome to the Harrison Technical Academy. Your cohort begins in 3 weeks. Don't be late. Malik's legs nearly gave out. I got in. You earned it. I'll see you on the first day. Day 1 at the academy. Malik stood outside the glass building with acceptance materials in hand, his heart trying to escape his chest. You can do this, he told himself. You earned this, you belong here. He didn't believe it yet, but he walked inside anyway. The workshop was incredible. CAD stations, 3D printers, welding equipment, circuit boards, tools he'd only seen in YouTube videos. 30 other students milled around, most of them looking as nervous as he felt. Everyone, please take your assigned seats, Dr. Chen called out. Welcome to the Harrison Technical Academy. Malik found his workstation. The tablet on his desk had his name on it. Malik Johnson, Station 12. That's Malik Johnson, someone whispered nearby. The kid who saved Harrison. I heard his family was about to be homeless. Apparently Harrison felt guilty and gave him a spot. Must be nice to get charity. Malik's hands clenched into fists under the table. No, he'd earned this. Dr. Chen had said so. You must be Malik. He looked up. A girl with purple streaks in her hair and kind eyes smiled at him from the next station. I'm Jamie Park. Your application essay was brilliant. The pulley system. You read my essay. Dr. Chen makes all the student ambassadors read them. Helps us know who's joining the cohort. She lowered her voice. Ignore the gossip. Half these kids got in because their parents donated buildings. You got in because you can actually engineer. Thanks, Malik said, meaning it. That's Bradley Patterson over there. Jamie gestured subtly. His dad owns Patterson Real Estate. He thinks he owns this place too. Don't let him get to you. The first week was brutal. Every class felt like walking into a conversation already halfway finished. KD software he'd never touched. Physics he'd only ever memorized, never understood. Math that twisted his brain into knots. On day 3, an instructor tapped Malik's screen with the blunt end of a pen. Johnson, your KD model has 12 critical errors. Tolerances are wrong, material choice won't hold, and this joint, it'd snap the moment someone breathed on it. Redo. Malik redid it, and redid it, and redid it. 4 attempts later, he finally produced something that didn't immediately collapse. Better, the instructor said, nodding once. You're learning. Not everyone agreed. Hey, diversity hire. Patterson sneered in the bathroom one afternoon.
How's life as Harrison's charity project? Malik didn't look at him, just washed his hands and left. The next day, Patterson didn't bother with subtlety. Must be nice, he said loudly to the whole class, getting in for free while the rest of us had to actually earn it. I did earn it, Malik said, barely above a whisper. Oh right, you saved Harrison's life. Perfect little sob story. Rescue the billionaire, get the golden ticket. You're a pity admit with really good timing, everyone knows it. Patterson, Dr. Chen's voice sliced the air cleanly. My office, now. The door clicked behind them. Jamie leaned over to Malik. Don't listen to him. His project's falling apart. He's jealous. My project is a mess, Malik muttered. Sure, Jamie shrugged, but you're learning. He's just performing. The media didn't help. Someone leaked Malik's enrollment. A headline hit the feeds that same afternoon. From poverty to privilege, teen who saved billionaire gets second chance. The article made him sound like a feel-good charity segment between weather updates. Not a student, not an engineer in training, just a prop. Home wasn't better, so you're too good to hang out now? Terrence asked when Malik skipped basketball for the third week. I've got assignments. You're at your fancy academy being trained as the next tech bro. Terrence snapped. Malik, they're using you. You're a mascot, a diversity poster. They'll parade you until the press forgets, then dump you back here. It's not like that. Then why you? Terrence stepped closer. Out of everyone in this neighborhood, why you? Because you saved a billionaire. That's it, your PR. And when PR expires, so do you. Malik avoided East Side after that. Not because he wanted to, but because every time he went back he felt like something inside him split in two. Betray his neighborhood, or betray his chance. There was no choice that didn't hurt. 3 months in, Marcus found him between classes. Henry wants to see you, he said. Now, Malik's stomach twisted. This was it. Patterson had been right. They were done with him. Henry didn't waste time. You're struggling, he said. The second Malik sat down. I'm fine. Don't lie to me. Henry's voice was sharp, but not unkind. Your instructors say you redo every assignment multiple times. You're staying until midnight every night. You barely eat lunch. You're isolated from your classmates. This isn't sustainable. I just need to work harder. You're already working harder than everyone else. That's the problem. Henry stood up from behind his desk. Malik, what are you trying to prove? That I belong there, that I'm not just the charity case everyone thinks I am. To who? Patterson. People who'll never respect you no matter what you do. Henry's voice softened. Listen to me. You have nothing to prove to people whose spots were bought with their parents' money. You earned your place. I saw your interview scores. You were in the top 5 of all applicants this year. Really? Really? Henry handed him a folder. This is a new project. Independent study. Design something from scratch. No comparing yourself to Patterson. No worrying about what people think. Just you and your ideas. Show me what you can do when you're not paralyzed by fear. Malik opened the folder. The brief was simple. Design a low-cost transportation solution for urban communities with limited infrastructure. This is my application essay, Malik said. I know you said you wanted to design things that help people. So design. Henry's voice was firm. I opened the door for you, but you have to walk through it. Stop standing in the doorway convincing yourself you don't deserve to be there. Step inside, do the work, trust yourself. Malik stared at the project brief for 3 straight days. Design a low-cost transportation solution for urban communities with limited infrastructure. He thought about his stolen bike, about his mom struggling up 3 flights of stairs, about everyone in East Side who needed mobility but couldn't afford it. Then he started sketching. The design came together slowly. He filled notebooks with terrible ideas, bikes that were too complicated, too expensive, too fragile. Everything he tried had some fatal flaw. What are you working on? Jamie asked one night around midnight. She'd started staying late too, working on her water filtration project. Something that probably won't work. Show me anyway. He showed her his latest iteration, a folding bicycle with modular components and integrated storage. The frame was lighter than standard bikes, using a welding technique he'd learned in class. Every part could be replaced with hardware store items, no proprietary pieces, no special tools needed. This is brilliant, Jamie said. The folding mechanism sticks. The weight distribution is wrong. The storage interferes with the pedals, so fix it, that's what we're here for. She pulled up a chair. Show me the problem. They worked until 2 a.m., then the next night, and the next. Eventually, even Patterson wandered over one night. The storage mount is in the wrong place, he said, not looking at Malik directly. Move it here. Basic ergonomics. Malik blinked. Yeah, you're right, thanks. Patterson shrugged and walked away, but 2 days later he came back with a suggestion for the folding hinge. Then another idea for reducing weight. 6 weeks into the project, Malik had something real. He called it the stride. The frame was lightweight aluminum. The folding mechanism worked smoothly. The modular design meant anyone could repair it. The integrated storage held a week's worth of groceries, and the entire thing cost about $120 in materials under his target. You should present this at the showcase next month, Dr. Chen said when he showed her. We invite manufacturers, community leaders, press. It's your chance to demonstrate your capabilities. I don't know if it's good enough. Malik, she cut him off. Stop it. This is excellent work. Present it. Presentation day arrived with terrifying speed. The showcase was held in a large hall at Harrison Industries. Malik's station displayed his prototype, schematics, cost analysis and manufacturing plans. His hands shook as he arranged everything. You ready? Jamie appeared beside him with her filtration system. Not even a little bit. Good. Nervous energy makes for authentic presentations. The hall filled with people, manufacturers in suits, community organizers with notepads, reporters with cameras, and in the back watching quietly, was Henry. When it was Malik's turn to present, his mouth went dry. This is the stride, he started, voice barely audible. Louder, someone called out. He took a breath. This is the stride, a low-cost bicycle designed for communities that need reliable transportation but can't afford current market options. He demonstrated the folding mechanism, explaining the engineering principles, showed the modular design, emphasizing that any component could be replaced at any hardware store, detailed the cost analysis. $120 in materials could retail for under $200. Transportation shouldn't be a luxury, he concluded, his confidence growing as he spoke. It should be accessible to everyone. This bike is designed to be affordable, durable, and repairable by anyone who needs it. When he finished, the room was silent. Then Henry started clapping, slowly at first, then louder, and others joined until the whole room was applauding. A woman in a business suit approached. Mr. Johnson, I'm Rebecca Torres from Urban Mobility Solutions. We distribute transportation solutions to community programs nationwide. If your cost projections are accurate, we'd be very interested in partnership. Partnership. Malik's brain stalled. We work with job training programs, after-school initiatives, community centers. Many participants can't afford transportation to our programs. Your design could solve that. She handed him a business card. Let's talk specifics. More people crowded around, asking questions, taking photos, requesting contact information. Malik answered as best he could, still not quite believing this was real. After the showcase, Henry approached with Marcus. Mr. Johnson, that was exceptional work. Henry's voice was formal, but his eyes were warm. I want to fund production. 5,000 units to start, distributed to community programs across the city. 5,000, free of charge to recipients. We'll cover manufacturing costs. You'll retain design rights and receive percentage royalties on any future commercial sales. Henry extended his hand. Does that work for you? Malik couldn't speak, he just nodded. Good. Marcus will handle the contracts. But Malik, Henry's voice dropped lower. This is what I meant about walking through the door. You did that. You didn't just walk. You ran through and built something incredible. I'm proud of you. 3 months later, Malik stood on a corner in East Side, watching kids ride stride bikes to school, watching parents carry groceries without struggling, watching his design, his actual design, help real people. Not bad, huh? Jamie appeared beside him on her own stride. Not bad at all. The local news filmed them, then national news. From rescued to rescuer, teen saves his community. They interviewed him, photographed him with the bikes, made him into a story. But standing there watching that mom load her groceries while her kid waited patiently, both of them smiling because they had reliable transportation, that felt real in a way the news stories never would. Doors were opening, not just for him, for everyone. 2 years later, Malik sat on the front steps of his apartment building, holding the MIT envelope he hadn't opened yet. Spring sunshine warmed his face. Students rushed past with backpacks and coffee, living their normal college lives. He'd applied because Dr. Chen insisted, because Henry encouraged him, because Jamie said you'd be an idiot not to try, but he never really believed he'd get in. His phone buzzed. "Henry, did you get the letter? I'm holding it, and I haven't opened it yet." "Malik, open it." He tore the envelope open, hands shaking, scanned the first line. "Congratulations." The rest of the letter blurred. Full scholarship. Engineering program focused on social impact design. They wanted him not because he'd saved a billionaire, but because his Stride design had been published in 3 engineering journals. Because he'd spent 2 years improving it, creating new iterations, teaching other academy students how to design for their communities. "I got in," Malik said, his voice breaking. "Henry, I got in." "Of course you did. You earned it. My mom's going to lose it." Happy tears, the best kind. "Listen, come by the office when you get back. There's something I want to show you." An hour later, Malik walked into Henry's office at Harrison Industries. 2 years, and he still felt that small flutter of awe looking at the city spread out below. "Over here," Henry called. On the wall behind Henry's desk hung a photograph Malik had never seen. From the night of the storm, someone must have taken it during the rescue. Henry on the stretcher, Malik beside him, both covered in soot and rain and blood. Malik's hand still on Henry's shoulder. The image was powerful, raw, real. Below it in a glass case was Sarah's keychain, the one Malik had thrown behind his dresser in anger, that Henry had somehow retrieved. "You kept it," Malik said. "Of course, it reminds me of what matters." Henry stood beside him, looking at the photo. "Malik, that night you saved my life twice, once from the fire, and once from myself." "What do you mean?" "I told you I was visiting Sarah's grave. What I didn't tell you was I'd decided not to go home afterward." Henry's voice was quiet. "I was tired of being alone, of having all this success and no one to share it with. I thought maybe everyone would be better off if I just didn't make it back." Malik's throat tightened. "Henry, but then you pulled me from that car, gave me your jacket, your money, your trust. You reminded me that kindness still exists, that people are worth saving, that maybe I was worth saving too." He turned to Malik. "You gave me a reason to keep going, to do better, to use what I have to actually make a difference. I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what almost no one would do, and it changed everything." Henry gestured at the photo. "This moment, this is when I remembered who I wanted to be." Malik looked at the scared kid in the photo, at the boy who'd almost walked away. "You gave me chances I never would have had," he said. "You opened doors, and now you're opening doors for others." Henry showed him a video on his tablet. The Harrison Technical Academy's newest cohort. 50 students from underserved communities, kids who looked like Malik, kids who'd thought doors would never open. "We're expanding to 5 cities next year, all because you showed me what was possible." They watched kids laughing, building, creating. "I want you to run this program," Henry said suddenly. "After MIT, come back and lead the academy. Hire instructors, recruit students, expand the vision, make it yours." "That's 4 years away." "I know, I'm patient." Henry extended his hand. "What do you say?" Malik took it. "I say let's open more doors." 6 months later, Malik stood in front of a new group of academy students. Nervous kids wearing hand-me-down clothes, carrying stories of rejection and closed doors. "I know what you're thinking," he told them. "You don't belong here. This is a mistake. Someone's going to realize you're not good enough." They nodded. He saw himself in every face. 2 years ago I stood where you're standing thinking the exact same thing. I was scared, angry, convinced everyone was waiting for me to fail." He walked between their workstations. "But here's what I learned. The door doesn't open itself. You have to push it. Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes it feels like the whole world is pushing back." He stopped, smiled. "But once you get it open, you realize something. That door was never locked. It was just closed. And all it needed was someone brave enough to push. He held up a small metal keychain, a new design he'd made himself. Simple, functional, engraved with 2 words, push the door. Someone gave me something like this once. It reminded him what mattered. Now I'm giving one to each of you. To remind you that you have power, not just to open your own doors but to hold them open for others. He handed them out, watching hope replace fear. I'm not going to tell you this will be easy. It won't. I'm not going to promise you'll succeed at everything. You won't. But I promise this: as long as you keep pushing, that door will open. And when it does, you'll find people on the other side ready to help you through. After class, a small girl approached him, nervous, determined. Mr. Johnson, thank you. My mom works 3 jobs. I thought college was impossible, but now the door is open. Malik finished. You just have to walk through it. She nodded, clutching her keychain like it was made of gold. As she left, Malik looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, a kid was delivering food in the rain. A parent was working multiple jobs. Someone was standing in front of a closed door, wondering if they'd ever get through. But now, because of one stormy night, one moment of courage, one decision to push when pushing felt impossible, doors were opening, and they'd never stop. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. Because here's the truth, you're probably one decision away from changing someone's entire life, maybe even your own. The question is, when you see that door, will you push? Drop a comment telling me about a time someone opened a door for you, or when you opened one for someone else. Let's build something bigger than ourselves. See you in the next one.